Today I want to talk more about Chris Hedges. He has an article in truthdig.com that came out March 5th entitled Donald Trump's Greatest Allies Are the Liberal Elites. And he's so on point. It's a long article. I'm going to just touch on a little bit of it and really encourage you to click on the link in the show notes and read the whole article. And if you haven't already, read Death of the Liberal Class, because he's just basically expanding on everything he wrote in 2010 of Death of the Liberal Class, only how it relates to today. And really, one of the things he talked about, and I've talked about it on the show, and many others have, is the left has all this indignation about Trump. And, Trump is doing a lot of awful things, but he's like, where was it? Where was the indignation when, when none of the banking people went to jail, when the BP oil executives, none of them went to jail for polluting the Gulf of Mexico, which happened, because of deregulation. Deregulation allowed that to happen, and then none of those guys went to jail. When America has 2.3 million people went into the prisons, we have the largest prison system in the world now, and most of them are people of color. Where was the indignation then? It's good that, individuals now are getting more involved. It's really good. We've talked about this a lot on this show, that people are paying attention and getting involved, but the Democratic Party and the Democratic institutions are just complete bullshit. And even the press. 2016 was CNN's most profitable year. The networks gave Trump 23 times more coverage than Bernie Sanders, because what Bernie Sanders was saying isn't marketable. It's not catchy to just say, there's a problem with big corporations. I mean, when he's saying there's a problem with big corporations, he's talking about companies like CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all these. They're owned by multinational conglomerates. So it's like back in 2004, Howard Dean, remember, the press just collapsed on Howard Dean because he, quote unquote, lost it during that one thing. And because Howard Dean was anti-war. Howard Dean wasn't getting donations from the right people. He was getting donations from outside of the corporate elite. And so the press is part of the corporate elite. And that's why they crushed Howard Dean. And they tried to do that with Trump. The media just thought Trump was just going to be this ratings novelty. And then Hillary was going to win because that's who we've all decided. But since, Bill and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and everybody blocked out, they didn't let anybody run. They said they blocked out their own party, their own primary, which gets tax dollars. Primaries are funded, as I've said before, primaries are funded by American tax dollars. But they didn't have an open, fair, let's see who the best candidate. They just said, it's going to be Hillary. It's Hillary. There was no other women running against her. There was no people of color. There was no nothing. She made sure it was all a bunch of white guys running against her. And everybody was on board with it. The whole Democratic power structure was on board with it. And this article says, and because they refuse to learn, they're going to be Trump's greatest allies unknowingly. I mean, it goes, this shit has been going on forever. There's a quote in here by Cornel West basically saying that Obama was a black mascot for Wall Street because he betrays the disenfranchised and endows the ruling elites with false progressivism, a false humanism, and false inclusiveness. Really, they've ended welfare. They've increased warfare. They've done all this crap like NAFTA and the TPP, which is screwed up for the working person. They're not and they refuse to learn. It's and Bernie Sanders came in, we're going to regulate Wall Street and do all this. No, you can't say that, man. You can't say that at all. He talked about bailing out homeowners victimized by the banks, ending the wars in the Middle East, instituting a jobs program to repair our decaying infrastructure, dismantling the prison system, restoring the rule of law on the streets of our cities, making college education free and protecting programs such as Social Security. This article says we would see election victory after election. If the Democrats went real progressive, and they have a chance to do it, they would win and win and win, and the corporate greed of the Republicans would just be so obvious and so disgusting to the average person, they would just get crushed. But one of the things that Chris Hedges talks about, I mean, he quotes Dostoevsky, and it was the liberal elite in the late 19th century, early 19th century, late 19th century. In Russia, the liberal elites were doing the same thing. They were hypocrites. That's the thing that's driving me crazy. The right is just evil and corrupt and all they care about is money. And then the liberal elitists, the wealthy left, talks all this big game about helping everybody, but they're living in mansions and fucking flying in private jets. I mean, I see it in Hollywood all the time. You watch the Oscars and shit like that, and all these celebrities, they're such great liberals while they're wearing $60,000 in blood diamonds, and then they go back up to their giant estate in the Hollywood Hills or Bel Air or whatever. And it's like, you're not like doing any of this crap that you say they are. It's unbelievable. It's in Notes from the Underground. I'm going to quote this. Dostoevsky is quoted in this article, so I'll read it to you. Dostoevsky lampooned the defeated dreamers of the liberal class, those who preached goodness but lived in moral squalor. These defeated dreamers denounced the social and cultural depravity that they had largely created. They had an open disdain for the uneducated, the poor, the working class, the lesser breeds beneath them. And in the end, they ushered in a moral nihilism to empower a dangerous class of demagogues, killers, and fools. Quote, I've never managed to become anything, neither wicked nor good, neither a scoundrel nor an honest man, neither a hero nor an insect, the underground man wrote. And now I am living out my life in my corner, taunting myself with the spiteful and utterly futile consolation that it is even impossible for an intelligent man seriously to become anything. And only fools become something. Yes, sir, an intelligent man of the 19th century must be and is morally obliged to be primarily a characterless being, a man of character, an active figure, primarily a limited being. That sounds familiar. Intelligence has been squandered. The liberal elites, man, have let this happen. The Democrat, the left, I'm not excusing any of the evil shit that Trump is doing right now, but we've let this happen. When we turn a blind eye to just war after war after war, we're still fighting in Afghanistan. It's 2017. We've been fighting in Afghanistan for 16 years. It's our longest war. In one of the videos I did, Obama got rid of like the boots on the ground in Iraq and mostly in Afghanistan, but he replaced it with just this never-ending drone strike and special op war. We're still always in war. It's like, you know, Obama in 2008 talked about clean energy, and I was like, oh, awesome, here we got to hear this. And then eventually during the campaign, he mentioned clean coal, and I was like, you're just doing that because you're trying to play nice with like Pennsylvania and Ohio and shit like that. There's no such thing as clean coal because they're just bought and sold. It's just unbelievable, man. It's like, it's what they did to Keith Ellison. You know, Haim Sabam condemns him as an anti-Semite because of Ellison's criticism of the Israeli government to the head of the National Committee. It's like, that's the thing that's unbelievable. Oh, the travel ban is anti-Muslim, but then we're going to not elect Keith Ellison because he's not allowed to speak honestly about what is happening in Israel? Like, I posted that video of that Israeli talk show host on his show saying what Israel is doing to Palestine is like apartheid. And he said, and it's wrong, and I'm an Israeli. And it's an amazing video. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. All right, guys, like, subscribe, read the whole article, read more about Chris Hedges. Go to the Patreon page so I can do more of this. If you help out with the Patreon, we can do more videos. I can release this as a podcast. I just need money and infrastructure because right now it's just sort of me and these two lights, microphone, and then my girlfriend editing and posting these. So I thank you for your support. Keep watching. Stay vigilant.